The experience I had where I was able to not just know at an intellectual level, but deep in my soul, I was able to recognize myself as a child of God. It was after 9 years of being in the world, away from spirituality. I had not read the scriptures or prayed in all that time. And I'm in bed. I have a hard time falling asleep. I'm tossing from one side to another. And I am in so much darkness. And I am recognizing that the state of my soul is just so precarious. It's just so, I'm immersed in such darkness. At this point in my life, I am engaged in such poor behaviors that have brought such sorrow into my life. And I'm trying to numb one thing with another thing, and it's just, I'm a mess, basically. And in the middle of this, I'm in bed, and for a couple hours, I'm unable to find peace or just fall asleep and rest. And as I'm wrestling with this, I have this memory. I don't even know where these words came from because again, I have not read the scriptures or prayed or anything in so long, but the memory of I am a child of God, those words just came to my mind out of nowhere. And it was as if this particle of light, this minuscule, tiny piece of light came to my life and it started to illuminate my soul. And I started to recognize that as a child of God, I have an eternal potential that I can accomplish anything that I want if it's my Father's will. And I start to feel God's love for me in that moment. And all that darkness that I was experiencing was gone. And as I start going to church, because I started to go to church after that, I start to feel God's love for me when I go to church and the love of my brothers and sisters at church. And that was the beginning of a 180 turn in my life.
When I was coming back to church, I didn't know who I was. Was very neglected as a child, lived in a house with drugs and hanging out with the wrong people. I didn't have any like parental guidance. And so I had completely lost any belief in God. So in not having parents, I was just going the way of the world and it was just spinning me around. I was a very confused teenager and just trying to like fill a void in my life all the time, you know, and became very selfish. I became a very selfish person. I think that can happen naturally to a person that's in pain all the time because you start to think about your own pain and whatever it is you're suffering with, you know. So when I read that scripture, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. So I was clinging to this life that I was so unstable, but I was clinging to anything selfish, anything that I thought might help me, fix me. And I had lost myself. I had completely forgotten who I am. I completely lost myself by being selfish. And then as I was coming back to church and finding God, I was rediscovering who I truly was. And like, I can't even, like you said, I can't even describe the feeling of being found by God when you like feel like he has forgotten you, but like rediscovering your true self through God's eyes and understanding that you're his child has given me more confidence than going to college and getting a good job. Because those things can change. Those are just material things, but no one will ever be able to take away the identity that you have of understanding that you're a child of God.
Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and share. The Be Faithful podcast is not endorsed or sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is my personal attempt to share the light of Jesus Christ and to testify that he lives. So please stay tuned for more inspiring conversations. And until next time, keep the faith.